Hey, Brandon.
Yo,
Yo,
can you hear me?
I can.
Can you see me?
No. Oh, hold on a second.
thought-
Hold on a second. Maybe I can. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Let me see if I can see you. Hold on 1 second.
Post allow you to talk in the webinar. Okay, rejoin. Zoom would like to access the camera. Okay.
There you are. All right. So hang up the phone.
All right, hold on. I got it.
Oh, I lost you. What happened there? There you go. Can you hear me? You can't hear me? All right. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. It's not allowing me to unmute him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can. Can you hear me?
I mean, I can't hear you.
You can't?
No, I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear you.
Turn up your volume. That's weird. Okay. Now I lost your camera.
Yo,
Now I can't see you. Can you hear me?
hold on.
Can you hear me?
Very low.
Wow. Wonder why that is.
Like not even enough to be able to understand you.
I've got
My volume's all the way up on my phone.
yeah, mine is too. I don't know what to do. I don't know why that is. It's really bad. You can't hear me at all.
What's that?
Oh wow, you really can't hear me at all.
No, like I still can barely hear you when I have it right to my ear like this.
Let me see if I have an earpiece, Brandon.
Okay.
By the way, I listened to one of your video on YouTube.
Okay.
It was very moving. That's how I would describe it. I was very. It
I don't know which one it was, but thank you.
was a 1 hour piece.
Oh, it's sitting in like a chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get this fixed. I don't know what. Let's see one thing here.
Greek, you know what? I probably don't. Because I have my friend here, but I'm just going to hold my phone like this when we figure it out, right?
Yeah. However, I mean, it's perfect as long as we can see you.
Okay.
I don't know
So
why
you
we
can see
can't,
me
why
like
you
this?
can't hear me.
So I'm good like this?
Yeah, as long as we can see you, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So Greek, yeah, I don't need your
I don't know
phone.
why.
Do you want to use my card to pay that?
Okay, can you hear? Is it still bad?
What's that?
Is it still really bad?
Yeah, still nothing changed.
All right, we're gonna try and I'm gonna put an earpiece in just to see if you can hear me a bit. But
Here, these are regular.
gotta love technology.
No,
I don't know why that is.
Should I put headphones on mine to see?
Oh, I'm wondering. No, I mean normally I don't use set headphones. There's not normally a problem with anybody hearing me.
these don't even work.
What the fuck is this over?
It just got all tangled.
A bloody mess. Three has to untangle the fuck. Oh, honey, I can't untangle this.
Here. It'll take 1 second. Here. You have a regular. Yeah.
Brandon, do you want to try and log out and log back in?
Yeah, I'll try it and see what happens. If
You're on
not, we
Wi-Fi,
can
right?
try. I have another phone. Maybe you can send it to that phone and I can try it on that one.
Yeah, are you on Wi-Fi? I guess you are.
I'm in my house. Yeah, I'm in my house. Let me see. I'm in my house, so I'd imagine so. Yeah, I'm on my Wi-Fi. Should I log out and try again?
I'm thinking maybe that's the best way to go. Hold on. Let me just see. I'm going to put the headset and see this works. Right now, it's.
You're just trying and see if it works, and I'll get the other piece.
Is that it? Is that a little better? Can you hear me now?
Same thing. Should I try to put headphones on my phone and see?
Yeah, I think so because it'll be better.
Give me 1 second.
All right.
Okay.
If you don't talk, I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, I will.
Mess.
I don't know how. I just share. I guess it's messy.
I don't know why the volume sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo.
How's that?
Yeah, it's normal now.
That's good.
Yeah, I can totally hear you.
Okay, perfect. So in a second we'll go live on Facebook. Normally what I do is I do like a little bit of an intro,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll just like start having a conversation. And
Cool.
I don't know if you want to promote Banyan, but I want to give you every opportunity to do so if you want to. I think you.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe I'll promote this too. Check this out. First ever addiction graphic novel.
My brother, you can promote whatever you want. I'm good with that. I mean,
This thing's going to be groundbreaking. It's not out yet. This is the fucking only copy I have, but it'll be out in a
love the
month.
front cover.
Whatever.
Awesome. All right, hold on a second. Let me get us live on Facebook here, and then if you want, you can
Yeah.
you can share it to your page.
Okay. I don't know how to do that. Take this shit you see here.
You'll have to go to. All right, hold on a second here.
I could get my buddy that's here with me could help me do that.
All right.
Should
Yeah. So if you go to the drug and alcohol, it's drug and alcohol Tonys. Go to our Facebook live page.
Do I do it on my Facebook now?
Yeah. Give me a second because we're just going live now. So hold on 2 seconds.
Okay.
All right. 2 seconds here.
That's cool. So what do I do once we do go live? I'm going to get off of this screen and I'm going to go to my Facebook.
You can do, and then you'll search for drug and alcohol attorneys.
Yeah.
All right. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to start sharing this thing. So hold on a second.
Or maybe I can just share it when we're done. I don't know. I'm just the most computer illiterate fucking person you'll ever meet in your life.
Me too. So hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can get here. All right, well, I guess we'll have to share it later. All right, so we're gonna. If you go to my page, Mark G. Astor, it's there.
Hold on, let me get on my Facebook now. All right, what is it? MARK.
Yeah, Mark. And then middle initial G.
Yep.
Then Astor, ASTOR. You might need to connect with me. Do a friend request if we're not already connected.
Founder at Drug and Alcohol Attorneys, correct?
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yep.
Okay, so now we're friends.
Okay, hold on a second.
Or I requested you, I guess.
Hey, got it. All right.
Now
okay.
what?
So now if you go to my page, go to that Mark G. Astor page, and you can share it.
I'm on your page now.
Just scroll down. You'll see us. It's a little bit time delayed, which is why.
Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing it yet. Your last post I'm seeing is Jewish Family Service Substance Abuse Disorder Committee.
We are live. You should be able to share it. If not, share it later because we're live right now. So let's do our thing.
Cool.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. We are finally live. As you can tell, I'm finally getting the technology going here. The Drug and Alcohol Attorneys Facebook Live show. And I'm super excited to have Brendan Novak on the show with us. And he is really an incredible dude. World-class skateboarder, member of the Jackass crew. He's done so many things. It would take me 20 minutes to list them all. But he's now working for Banyan Treatment Centers here in South Florida. And he has an incredible story to tell. If you haven't seen any of his videos on YouTube, you should go and look him up because he's just an amazingly talented individual. And I'm really flattered and honored that you're going to take some time to chat with us, Brandon. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Absolutely, man. I'm grateful to be a part of this and to more so be part of the solution. To God willing, shine a light at the end of that rather dark, drab tunnel, if you will. Because if you look at the statistics, they're rather overwhelming. They're dark, they're drab, and they feel defeating. Because the reality is, today in the nation, 179 people will die as a direct result of an opioid overdose. 1 out of 5 people will be affected. And when people see those numbers and see these stats and they open up the magazine, they watch the news and 15 die from a fentanyl-laced heroin overdose, it's like, dude, when's it going to end?
It's frightening. And I think statistically last year, we lost about 65,000 people, which is, if you put it in perspective, it's enough to fill up an NFL stadium, which is really incredible. And I think even here in Palm Beach County, we lost something like over 600 people, which is basically equivalent to Boeing 747. So we're really in the middle of a crisis. And if you watch the news, you think about all these external threats that we're supposedly facing, but we got a crisis right here in this country, and it's everywhere, and it's the opioid crisis, and it's ravishing, it's destroying a whole section of our society, and it's killing our young people in record numbers.
Yes.
And so, kudos to you, my brother, for shining a light on this issue. And I'm really happy that we're gonna talk about this. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning, because I know you come from an interesting background.
Yeah.
And you grew up in where? Was it Baltimore? So
Baltimore City, Baltimore, Maryland.
So tell me about your upbringing, right? Your parents. I know you have an interesting mom and an interesting brother.
I come from a rather extreme family, if you will. My mother got a job at 15 years old drawing blood for $5 a pop in Mercy Hospital. And as of 2 years ago, she recently retired as a nuclear physicist on the board of Mercy Hospital. 53 years of gainful employment, second longest employer in Mercy Hospital history. I have a brother who's an attorney, and when he graduated law school, he passed the bar. He was literally blinded in student debt, and he didn't know where he was going to go or how he was going to get there. And today currently resides as a practicing attorney in the White House with practicing pensions and benefits. My father never held a job a day in his life. He taught me one thing: if and when I go to prison, how to conduct myself. Died as a direct result of this disease of addiction. So I lived with that after school special or cautionary tale of what not to do or what not to become. And I actually excelled at everything that I did because I was not going to become him. Furthermore, I was not going to use drugs and alcohol because I saw what it made him do to me, to my mother, to my brother, to my sister. But the reality is the disease of addiction does not discriminate. From Yale or jail, the White House or the outhouse, the results are all the same. Right. Me, on the other hand, I got my first skateboard at the age of 7. And that night when my mother put me to bed, she said, "Brandon, what do you want me to do with the skateboard?" I said, "I want it in bed with me." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because if I die, I want it to come with me." It was like God had came down and handed me the holy grail in the form of a skateboard. I knew I was going to be a professional skateboarder. I ate it. I breathed it. I slept it. I dreamt it. At 15, I was designing my pro model for Pau Peralta. I was touring the world with Tony Hawk. At 14, I was the first skateboarder ever in the world to be endorsed by Gatorade. They would fly me out to Chicago to the Quake Roads building. They'd put me on one treadmill. They put Michael Jordan on another treadmill. And they put these wires down our noses and down our throats and give us each Gatorade to see the effects that it has on different sports players. I carried the very same trait that my mother, my brother, and my father, for that matter, carried. And that is, despite any and all adverse consequences that came my way, I did what I had to do to get what I wanted to get. And that furthermore led into my drinking and drugging career.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Was there any history of addiction in your family before?
Yeah. My father was an alcoholic, drug addict. His father was an alcoholic. I'm the only child by my father. My brother and sister are by a different father. So my brother and my sister are not an addict alcoholic. My mother's not an addict or alcoholic. No one on her side is. I believe I was genetically predisposed to it via my father and his father.
Yeah, I've heard before there's definitely a genetic component, and I think there's certainly an argument for nurture and nature versus one or the other.
Yeah,
I see that in a lot of the families that I talk to. So, I mean, you said you got your first skateboard at 7.
Yeah.
I mean, what was school like before before that? Were you a good student? Were you well behaved?
I wasn't a bad student. I was never very well behaved. I was a skater that liked to run the streets and stay out late at night. And I wasn't the kid that walked in class 20 minutes late in fear that everyone was staring at me. I was the kid that walked in class 20 minutes late thinking that everybody was waiting for me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So school really didn't interest me. The only thing that I cared about was skateboarding. Skateboarding for me at the time did what drugs and alcohol did for me later on down the line. You give me my skateboard at a very young age, you could put me in the room with the most prettiest women in the world, the most successful businessmen in the world, and I don't care. I feel like I belong as if. You know what I mean? With that skateboard. It provided for me a feeling unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Did you feel like maybe the skateboard was sort of your drug of choice as a young kid? That was where you got your rush from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Therefore with that skateboarding, thanks, man. Therefore with that skateboarding, school was not important. A plan B was not important. Learning a trait wasn't important. A skill, it didn't matter because I was going to be a professional skateboarder. And I'm the kind of guy, if I believe it, I can see it. I don't need to see it to believe it.
Right. Okay, so you got your first skateboard at 7,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know things started to progress pretty quickly for you because I think it was,
Yeah.
what, 15 years of old? I mean, you're basically traveling the world as a professional skateboarder.
Yes.
So how did you go from 7 to 15, all of a sudden, bam, the world's your oyster and you're just living just a crazy lifestyle?
Well, it's rather ironic. There was no accountability in my life, right? Like I didn't have a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 gig. The accountability that I had to show was to my team captain, who was in Santa Barbara, California. And what my accountability looked like is calling him up a few times a week, telling him some new tricks I learned, showing him a new video part that I had filmed, and ordering more skateboards. That was my check-in. And the reality was I was a very successful individual at such a young age that no one really questioned what I did, So by the time that I had got wrapped up with drugs and alcohol, really my success only hurt me. It did not help me because I have that disease of addiction. By the time I got wrapped up, I was so far gone that I wasn't really redeemable at that point.
Right. So, I mean, I remember looking at one of your videos on YouTube. I think at some point they kicked you off the tour. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm on one of my first tours with a fellow by the name of Mike Vallely. And he catches me with some drugs and alcohol on the tour. And he says, Brandon, get rid of the drugs or get off the tour. So I throw the drugs down the sewer. I finish the demo. I meet a girl at the demo. I have her drive me back to the sewer. I fish the drugs out of the sewer. Long story short, I get caught with them. I get kicked off the tour. Now I'm home, and about a week into being kicked off the tour, Tony Hawk calls me. And he said, Brandon, we have one or two options we can do with you. We can put you into treatment. You can save your life. You can continue to be a professional skateboarder, or you can quit the team. And I didn't have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I quit because I'm that kind of alcoholic that I tend to shy away from conversations that require the words honest, reliable, or dependable because they do not help me get one more. And you'll hear in my story anything between me and that next one must and will go. And it's not personal. It's just business for the game that I played at the time called addiction.
So if I remember rightly, Tony Hawk was like, I mean, he was the man when it came to skateboarding, right?
Yeah, he was my idol. You know what I mean? He was like the equivalent of me being a 6-year-old kid and meeting Santa Claus. You know what I mean? Like, that's how important Tony Hawk was to me.
So back then, what was really the drug of choice or drugs of choice?
At that time, it started out with, alcohol. Then it progressed to weed. Then no really cocaine. I wasn't really an uppers kind of guy. I like to go downtown. Then I started eating a lot of Xanax and Valiums. And then I got into the heroin. But like I said, I was so successful at such a young age that I didn't have to be in when the street lights were on. Everyone trusted and believed that I would make a sensible decision at most times. And so did I, and that was one of my big problems, these reoccurring problems I had throughout my life. I had this job, and this job was very tiresome, and it put me in a lot of places and positions that I did not like to be in. And that job consisted of knowing everything. So therefore, when you tell me what I need to do, I tell you why you need to fuck off, because I know, and hey, my resume states that I'm a pretty successful individual that must be somewhat intelligent. you know?
So I got a question. You're basically touring the world, am I right? With as a
Yeah.
skateboard. So what's a
Yeah.
typical day look like as a professional skateboarder at say 16 years of age?
Um, on tour, what it looks like is we wake up, we stay at a hotel room, we wake up, we go to the skate shop, we sign autographs, take pictures, and then do a skate demo. And then we usually go out to dinner afterwards. And then it's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat on tour. We'll go filming around whatever city we're in to try to get some new tricks for a good video part.
Okay. Was it easy to get drugs wherever you were?
It wasn't hard because, in that scene, it's not a really drug-induced scene, but people smoke herb, they drink a lot, they drink in excess, a little bit of cocaine here and there. But, when you're coming there and you're on tour with all these other professionals that are like famous, whatever I asked, the request could usually be filled, because they kind of want to appease you a little bit.
Right. Okay, so how long were you actually on tour with Tony Hawk before, he said, listen, you're done?
Well, no, he wasn't on that tour when I got kicked off. I got kicked off the tour by another professional skateboarder by the name of Mike Vallely, who wrote for Pal Prawlers at the time. He had called Tony and I guess told him what the deal was. And then while I was home, then Tony calls me and gives me that ultimatum. Right. So now I'm forced with the ultimatum. I either go to treatment, I can save my skateboarding career and I get clean and sober, or I'm kicked off the team. And I literally did not have a breath of fresh air in my lungs unless I quit. Because, for such a long time, I guess I was under more pressure than I realized. You know what I mean? I felt that I had to produce the best video parts. There was a lot required of me at a very young age.
Were you making a lot of money at the time? Because I know by the time you got to 23, you were a millionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did really well. I was doing really, really well. Financially was not the issue. It wasn't the problem. Really what that did was, like I said before, my success kind of hurt me as opposed to help me because it allowed me to continue to not have any accountability. There was no boss in my life. I could kind of come and go when I pleased, do what I want when I want it, with whom I usually want it.
Wow. Okay, so at some point you're off the team.
Yeah.
After that?
So now I'm off the team, and about 2 months go by. I'm living at my mother's house with my girlfriend, and one day they come to me and they said, "Brandon, we have a great idea for you." I said, "What's that?" They said, "We think you should go to treatment." And I thought about it for a moment. Now, keep in mind, I had just turned down this ultimatum from Tony Hawk 2 weeks prior, but now I'm thinking about it because what my delusional alcoholic mind tells me, the one that makes me believe the unbelievable, and it's so believable because it talks to me in my own voice. It tells me that the skateboarding world needs me. It cannot go on without me. I am an asset. In reality, the skateboarding world did not need me. It went quite fine without me, and I was a liability. Unfortunately, I'm the last person to see that. But now what's happening is video parts aren't being produced, tours aren't being scheduled, flights aren't being booked, packages are no longer being sent to my house. So presented with this ultimatum from my family, or idea, if you will. And I said, you know what? That's a great idea. A, I have the time. And B, I'm going to report to said treatment center. And I'm going to report back to my mother and my girlfriend why I'm not you people, nor will I ever be. Overreaction at best. You caught me at a bad time on a bad way in a bad day.
When they said to you, "We want you to go to treatment," did you sort of laugh at it and say, "There's nothing wrong with me. I don't have a problem"? I mean,
well, I really believed that I didn't have a problem, but I also believed that other people thought I had a problem. So I went into that first treatment center with a closed mind and a closed heart, comparing out, looking to prove a point why everyone was overreacting.
yeah, I remember in the video you told an interesting story about a gentleman who came up to you that night in the cafeteria. An African American gentleman came up to you. Was that the first treatment center?
Uh-huh.
And tell us, share the story with us about what he said to you, because I know that when you looked back over the years and the 13 treatment centers you ultimately went through, you remembered his words and said, "You know what? Maybe I should have listened."
Yeah. So I'm 17 years old. I'm now introduced to my first of many treatment centers. but I don't see or know this at the time. And I'm dropped off. It's a Wednesday night. It's about 10:30 p.m. And I'm ill as a research monkey. I'm withdrawing from heroin. And they take me in and they bring me into this big cafeteria. It's really big cafeteria. And there's all these like interrogation style lights shining on me. And the cafeteria is completely empty. And out of nowhere, this older black gentleman appears. And he says, "White boy, what are you doing here?" I said, "Heroin." He said, "How old are you?" I said, 17. He said, "Do yourself a favor and don't turn 18 in a place like this." And as quick as he came, he left. He nor I had no idea the significance of the conversation would ever have on my life. What I could tell you about that gentleman, now keep in mind, I'm comparing out closed mind, closed heart, proving a point why I don't belong here. You know what I can tell you about that gentleman? I can tell you where the 4 teeth were placed in his mouth, because at the time I had all mine. He was black. I was white. He's 70 to 75. I'm 17. He smokes crack. My delusional alcoholic mind, the one that lies to me in my own voice, makes me believe the unbelievable, tells me that I successfully do heroin. He is homeless. I live with my mother and my girlfriend. God bless that man. Thank God he found the answer to which he's in search of. You know what I can't tell you about that facility? I can't tell you about my therapist's name, the relapse prevention packet they're shoving down my throat, the healthy or unhealthy boundaries they're trying to instill in me. Because if I could tell you one of those things, that means that I can relate to being one of you people, and I want no part. So I leave that treatment center, disease untreated, no defense against me.
How long
That
did you
first
spend
drink.
there? How long did you spend there?
I did 30 days, the typical 28 to 30 days.
Okay, so
Eh,
you're there 30 days, you leave, because I mean, I think you said you didn't feel like you were one of those people. I mean,
no,
it was like you went there just to appease everybody that said, "Hey, you need to go to treatment." You're like, "All right, well, I'll go, whatever."
I went there to prove a point as to why I didn't belong there. I never had a moment of clarity where I said to myself, maybe I should take advantage of this. Maybe they do see something that I don't see. But I was so delusional at that point in time, and I seemed to be pretty successful to that point, that they just didn't understand. What I know now that I didn't understand then is that I'm the kind of guy that if it doesn't make sense to me, it's wrong. You know what I mean? So I stayed the 28 days in that treatment center, and that guy was right. I didn't turn 18 in a facility like that. But I turned 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 32, 33, 34, 35 in a jail or a treatment center. And every year, I'd sit on whatever bunk of whatever cell of whatever jail I happened to be in, or whatever bed of whatever treatment center I happened to be in. And I'd think back to that older gentleman, and I'd say, maybe if me, myself, Brandon Novak, would have listened to that man with an open heart and an open mind, I would not continuously find myself in this situation year after year after year, meaning that it was fully self-induced. I had now created or painted this picture for which I lived in.
So I mean, you said between 17 and 35, you were either in jail and treatment. So between 17 and 35, how many different treatment centers did you go in?
13.
Okay.
13 inpatient treatment centers. I had lost count of outpatients and detoxes. I had been medevac to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states from 4 different overdoses. My mother had bought me a plot. People had taken life insurance policies out on me. And right before walking to that 13th inpatient treatment center, I woke up from being on life support for 7 days.
So tell us about what's going on with your family, because you've got a brother who's a lawyer, a mother who I think what was she, a nuclear physicist?
Yes.
And they're like, what's going on with Brandon? I mean, what's going on in the family? I mean, because we talk about this as a family disease. So how is it affecting your family?
Well, my family was very extreme. Like I said, my father never held a job a day in his life. He taught me one thing: if and when I go to prison, how to conduct myself. He ran with the Hells Angels. He was the kind of dad that at 7 years old, he would take me to the strip joint. He would go in the back and conduct business, and he would sit me at the bar, and the pretty dancing girls would pour me shots of ginger ale and Coca-Cola into the shot glasses. As I would do the shots, the girls would applaud. My father would give me that look of approval. Later on down the line, my father and I, we sold drugs to each other. We did drugs together. We did a lot of things that are not appropriate for a father-son relationship.
What'd your mom think about that? Did she know?
She knew, And the disease, you know, it's cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I told you, anything between me and that next drink or drug must and will go. It's not personal, it's business. I saw that that was a weakness of hers, because she, as any good mother, any good loving mother would do, they're going to think that they were to cause of this situation, right? Maybe if I would have left Rome earlier, maybe if I wouldn't have left him home with Brandon during the days, maybe if Brandon didn't see these things from my husband, his father, Rome, Brandon wouldn't have turned out this way. And I picked up on that a million miles away. So I used her weakness for my advantage. And I would use that against her and say, you know, it is your fault. You know, so maybe you should give me this money. Maybe you should buy me this. Maybe you should pay my rent another day, a week, another month. You know what I mean?
I do. So somewhere in the middle here, you end up in one of the Jackass movies, right?
Yeah. So I was always really confused. Now, in between that first treatment center to my 13th, from 17 to 35, I had been in enough treatment centers and I had been in enough 12-step meetings that I learned ignorance is bliss, right? But when you know, you're to be held accountable, right? So I would go into these treatment centers and I would see that it was work for everyone else, but I just felt so internally unique that it could not work for me. But I really believe that social acceptability equaled personal recovery, right? So as long as the home was big enough, the woman was pretty enough, the account was high enough, and the car was new enough, and you told me those things, that validated that I must be doing well. What I didn't know then that I know now is all I was trying to do is fill this internal void with the external solution. And it just simply was not working.
Okay.
So now I trip and I fall into these movies, Jackass.
How did that happen, by the way? Because I mean, you say you tripped and fell in, but that doesn't. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't really equate. I get it.
Someone discovered you, or you had a connection, or whatever it was.
Well, my best friend, the fellow by the name of Bam Margera, who is the star of those movies, Jackass. He is also a professional skateboarder, right? So I'm from Baltimore. Bam is from Pennsylvania. At a young age, me and another professional skateboarder by the name of Bucky Lasik used to go from Baltimore up to Pennsylvania to skate this skate park. And one day we went and I saw this kid there, my age, my style, did the same kind of tricks, loved skating transition just like me, and a very consistent skater, very good skater. And my first thought was, fuck, man, this kid's going to be a problem. Meaning that like he was going to beat me in contests or whatever. So long story short, we had became like best of friends, but biggest of enemies in contests. So all year he would practice or I would practice to win the NSA contest, which was every year. And that's how our friendship came about. And then one year he had been practicing. He showed up to the contest. I didn't show up. Bam went to Bucky. He said, "Where's Novak?" Bucky said, "Novak's on heroin." And Bam said, "What is that?" He had no idea what it was. So fast forward some years later, Bam blew up. He made those movies CKY, then turned into the TV shows Viva La Bam, then became the star of the movies Jackass. And he was on tour, and he was a professional skateboarder, and he was on tour. And I went into this skate shop in Baltimore one day to try to hit him up for some money, as I did normally. And what I didn't know is Bam was there the day before, and he did a demo. Asked about me. They told him my current situation was not good. Homeless, heroin addict, living on the streets of Baltimore. Bam left his phone number and said, "Tell Novak if he ever wants to get better to give me a call."
So you were homeless at that point?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you were having tons of money to homeless?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't have the kind of disease that I could say, "Hey, not right now. This isn't a good idea. I'm kind of low on money. Maybe I shouldn't do this right here, right now." No, when that thing calls, I answer by any and all means necessary. It does not understand the words no, hold on, not a good idea.
Right, and as you said, it's not personal. It's just business.
It's business, and I don't have the privilege to not do it when it tells me to do it. So I go in there to get some money. They don't give me money, but they give me Bam's number. And I call Bam, and he says, "Why don't you move up to Westchester with me? You can get clean. We can get you skating again. You can be in my TV shows, Viva La Bam." And that was a great idea. So Bam, I accredit to getting me out of Baltimore, which I really believed I would have died if I stayed there, and getting me into skateboarding again, back into the scene again, if you will.
Okay. So how many of the Jackass movies? I think you did a couple of them, right? I'm looking here.
Yeah, I was in Jackass 2, Jackass 2.5, Jackass 3, Jackass 3.5.
Okay.
Bam. And that was a great idea. So Bam, I credit to getting me out of Baltimore, which I really believed I would have died if I stayed there, and getting me into skateboarding again, back into the scene again, if you will.
Right.
Okay. So how many of the Jackass movies? I think you did a couple of them, right? I'm looking.
Yeah, I was in Jackass 2, Jackass 2.5,
Hold on a
Jackass
second.
3, Jackass 3.5.
This is.
Bam.
Did I lose him?
No, I'm here.
Sorry, Brandon. I lost you for a second. You know what happened? The Facebook Live started playing on my ear. I was hearing you twice.
Yeah, I was same thing here. I was just watching you, but hearing our past
So
conversation.
I know you did the Jackass movie.
Yeah.
Now I know at this point you're still using, right?
Yeah. So Bam would give me opportunities. I'd end up getting high. He'd kick me out. I'd go back to Baltimore, and that was kind of a wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over. You know?
Right. So I'm thinking whatever money you were making with the movies, you were basically just using to feed the habit.
Oh, it was going straight into my arm, you know. And at this point now, paychecks are being diverted to my second ex-fiance, you know, and people are on guard 24/7. And now, just like in that skateboarding world, my delusional alcoholic mind, the one that lies to me in my own voice and makes me believe the unbelievable, tells me that the Jackass world needs me. It cannot go on without me. I am an asset. In reality, the Jackass world did not need me. It went quite fine without me, and I was a liability. Unfortunately, I'm the last person to know that because I have that job, that position that consists of knowing everything, right? So now, just like the skateboarding world, this is a common theme in my life. Flights are no longer being booked. Tours aren't being scheduled. Paychecks are being diverted because they say, if we book him the flight, will he make the flight? Let's say we book him the flight and he makes the flight. What condition will he be in when he gets here? And let's say we book him the flight and he makes the flight. Is the same thing that's going to happen last time, where we have to kick the bathroom door down at Paramount Studios and find him dead on the ground with a needle in his arm.
So they felt like you're unreliable. I mean, they were.
Yeah. And, you know, I thought that I was an asset. In reality, I was a liability, but I'm the last person to know that. But I can't see where I'm headed, right? Because my mother's a nuclear physicist. My brother's an attorney in the White House. First skateboarder ever to be endorsed by Gatorade. Hanging out with Michael Jordan. Traveling the world with Tony Hawk. Now I've been in movies that break box office records several times over. Millionaire 3 times over between the ages 23 24. On the flip side of that coin, I've now been in about 10 inpatient treatment centers. My mother had already bought me a plot. People had taken life insurance policies out on me. And I watched an interview that was online that my mother did. And she said in the beginning of this interview, I used to pray not to get that phone call. I used to pray not to get that phone call. To now, today, praying to get that phone call that I was dead just so she could have a peace of mind.
Right.
Like, how did I get? I mean, I live with that after school special, that cautionary tale. My father, I did not like that man, and I hated drugs and alcohol even more because I saw what it made him do to us. But it comes back to the disease of addiction does not discriminate. It doesn't give a shit about age, religion, lack of religion, you know, race. It does not care.
And even the fact that you had all that money, it seemed like the more money you made, the more success you had, the more the disease was calling you.
Yeah, and in my line of work, the more outlandish or outrageous I was, the better, the more press and promotion I got.
Right. So, and also somewhere in the middle of this, you managed to write a really kick-ass book, right? I mean, New York Times top 10 bestseller.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's such a crazy story, Brandon. On one hand, you got this life you're just fed by drugs, and on the other hand, you have so much success that just came to you, and you clearly, you know, were a bright guy. I mean, to write a New York Times top 10 bestseller, that's not easy. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I'm no fool by any means. I come from better. I know better. I'm the kind of guy, if I believe it, I can see it. But the disease does not give a shit, right? So now I have no high school diploma. I have no GED. I've been in 11 inpatient treatment centers. In theory and on paper, a very successful individual. I did things in life that people equate to success or happiness that some even dream of doing. Now I'm taken to living on the streets of Baltimore City, standing on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park, selling my body for $40 to anybody that will pull up. How'd I get there? So now social acceptability equal personal recovery, right? I really believe that. Filling this internal void with the external solution. I got to build the outside up, so God willing, the inside somewhat correlates and look as if. So I decided I'm going to write a book. Now, I told you I have no high school diploma. I have no GED. I was not kindly asked to leave the 10th grade for drugs and alcohol, go figure. But I'm going to write a book. I get my GED after the first book is published in prison, right? Follow me here. After the first book is published in prison. And
so you're in prison and your book
yeah,
is published.
it was
Tell
published
us about
prior.
that economy, Brandon.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
I'm a really successful inmate.
Yeah, one of the best that ever did it. So I'm in the joint, and all of a sudden I decide I'm going to get my GED because A, I had the time, and B, the particular facility that I was in, if you passed your GED, you got a pizza party that was supplied by Domino's, right? So anyone that's did time, that's a no-brainer. But here's the miracle in the story. I aced it like a Harvard graduate. I did not miss one question. And it's real easy to understand why I did so well looking back on it now. It's because it was my idea. The reason why I did so bad for so many years in so many treatment centers, so many doctors' offices, so many psychiatrists' offices, so many 12-step meetings is because it was not my idea. You tell me what I need to do, I tell you what I need to fuck off. Me being an addict, alcoholic, I don't do well with authority and I hate to conform. If it was my idea, I would have excelled at a rapid pace and been a billboard for any treatment center. So I take my GED, I ace it. But prior to going to the joint, I decided I'm going to write a book, right? I write the book gets published. I'm now a published author. Take it a step further. I'm a published. The book is an autobiography addiction memoir, right? So now follow me. I've written an autobiography addiction memoir all while getting high, right? I write this book. The book is published. I'm now a published author. I'm a published author who's written a book on addiction. I'm now a published author who's written a book on addiction, and the book becomes a New York Times seller, right? I'm receiving hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail from all over the world of people like you saying, I read your book. I didn't want my story to get as bad as yours. I have 30 days clean. Of people like my mother saying, I read your book. I understand why my son picks the needle over coming to have dinner with me on the weekends. It's not that I was a bad mom. It's that he suffers with the disease of addiction.
So I got a question. People are writing to you. They're saying, thank you for writing the book. You've saved me. I've been clean for 30 days. Are you still, while people are writing to you, thanking you for getting them clean or inspiring them to get clean or going to treatment, are you still using at the same time? Did I lose Brandon? I think I did.
Yeah.
I did. Brandon, I lost you. Hold on a second, folks. Here he is. He's there, but I don't see him. Yeah, but he's, hold on. Hold on, folks, because I think we lost Brandon just for a second. Okay, hold on a second. Just getting to the good stuff. Oh, gotta love technology. Don't you do me a favor? Yeah, right now. Oh, hold on. We're gonna do this live. Okay. You won't better hear me? Okay. So let's give it a shot because I'm still live. All right, brother. All right. All right, everybody who's watching in Facebook land, Brandon is going to log back in. And so I apologize. As you can tell, being a lawyer, I'm somewhat technologically challenged. And this is the fun part of being on Facebook Live. But while we've got a few minutes, and we'll wait for Brandon to join us. Just to tell you a little bit about what we do. So if you don't know, and I guess if you're not on social media, you don't know, but what we do is we're helping families and individuals who are in crisis because of addiction and mental illness. And that's all we do. We only do one thing. That's it. I don't do any other kind of law. And, that typically takes us into one of three arenas. We're either going into criminal court because most of the people in the criminal system are addicts and are there. Okay, hold on a second. Brandon says he's in. I don't see him. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. All right, Brandon, you back? Okay, Brandon. There you go. All right, we got you back. Hold on a second. I just got to unmute you. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, fantastic. We're back. I was just buying a little time telling people about what we do here at Drug and Alcohol Tony's, but you're much more interesting than me, and they've heard my shtick before anyway.
Cool.
So I know we got to the point where I think we were talking about the book, and I asked you, I said, while people were writing to you and thanking you and telling you you inspired them to make change in their life, at the same time, were you using?
Yeah, so I'm sniffing well, now my mind, right? I wasn't doing heroin or downers. I was just sniffing cocaine and drinking wine. And my mind told me that was being clean and sober, right? Because I wasn't shooting heroin. I wasn't stealing your money. I wasn't wrecking cars. I wasn't falling asleep during conversations. And I thought, alcohol is socially acceptable. Cocaine isn't really an issue. It doesn't make me do things against my will. I don't shake when I don't have it, so my disease told me that I was doing really well. Right. So now I'm receiving hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail from all over the world of people saying I helped save their life, if you will. And my delusional alcoholic mind took it as I just wrote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous or the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's kind of like the Bible to us 12-step fellows. It's a guide to living. It saves millions of people on a daily basis, me being one of them right now. But the night my book's being released in Times Square in New York City at a Barnes & Noble, I have my literary agent there, my publishers are there, my manager's there, all these very well-to-do people in the scholarly world. And I don't have any heroin that day, right? And my people wouldn't give me any money to give me any heroin that day because what I didn't know then that I know now is it would not be a good look me sitting at a book release signing that's written on addiction as I sign autographs and fall asleep from nodding out being on heroin.
Still being an addict. And so I know you did something really interesting with the books. What did you guys do with the books that you had that you took?
So I have a buddy of mine that's there with me from Baltimore, and he doesn't feel good either. And me and him, we take one look at each other. All of a sudden, they wheel my books in on these dollies in these big boxes. And me and my buddy take one look at each other, and we have a complete conversation without saying a word, that language of the heart untreated, if you will. And I stand up. He stands up in uniform precision. We go over. I grab 2 boxes of my books. He grabs 2 boxes of my books. We run out of the book signing right to the train station, and we catch the next train from New York back to Baltimore. And I'm now in Baltimore autographing and selling these 4 boxes of books to 2 different stores to get more money to go buy more heroin. I'm now stealing my own addiction memoir from my own book release party to sell to buy more heroin. How did I get there, man?
So and at that point, are you still thinking, hey, listen, I'm not an addict. I'm just drinking and using heroin. No big deal.
Yeah, my delusional alcoholic mind said the literary world needs me. It cannot go without me. I am an asset. The next Stephen King or Edgar Allan Poe, if you will. Wow. In reality, the literary world did not need me. It went on quite fine without me, and I was a liability. But see, what happened is now I'm getting to the point where I'm about to be demoralized in just such a fashion from drugs and alcohol, beaten into a state of reasonableness that you're about to get my attention. But I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there.
Okay, so where do we go from this point? At some point, you must. I mean, there was that moment. I mean, some people call it rock bottom. Others, end up in prison. Other people end up in the I mean, something happened that you said, "Listen, I'm just done."
Yeah, for each individual, it's a case-by-case scenario, but I believe it takes what it takes until it takes. And for me, what took was having that gift of desperation, that God moment, right? I'm not religious, but I'm a very spiritual individual because you name it, I had tried to lift the obsession or rid me of the desire to want to get high. You're talking to a guy that was an IV heroin and cocaine user for 20 years straight. I smoked, sniffed, and ate and drank for 24 years straight. There's not much I haven't seen, tried, or did to stop using or to get another bag for that matter. And what happened prior to where I'm about to get to in my story, getting high was okay because each time I would put a shot of heroin in my arm, a line of cocaine up my nose, a bottle down my throat. Every time I would do one of those things, this delusional effect was produced, which would allow me to escape the reality which I had created for myself. So it was okay. I had been okay with standing on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park selling my ass for $40. I'm okay with having my mother buy me a plot. I'm okay with only having 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, 1 stick of deodorant, fits into a bag, doubles as a pillow, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order. I'm okay with sleeping in abandoned houses. Because each time I do a shot of heroin, the delusional effect was produced, which would allow me to escape the reality for which I created for myself.
You know,
But now, what's that?
I was going to ask a quick question because one of the questions I get asked when people come to see me, they ask me 2 questions. One is the Marchman Act a magic pill, which is, enables people to get their kids into treatment. And 2, is treatment a magic pill? And I'm not a therapist, but I've seen enough of this stuff over the last 24, 25 years in the criminal system to know that, treatment's not a magic pill. And there's a big difference between getting clean and staying clean. So, I mean, it sounds like you got clean, but every time you got clean, you went right back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When it comes to trying to help somebody or this advocacy thing, to help lift the stigma, raise awareness, find help for the needy. People always ask me, what's the right way to go about it? What do I do? What do I do? But because of where we're at in the times with this opioid pandemic, not epidemic, pandemic, this thing is worse than the Vietnam War. It's worse than the height of the AIDS outbreak. It's the #1 offender of humans at the moment. In this world of sobriety, recovery, advocacy, if you will, there's no margin for error, yet it is impossible to do perfect. So I'm a big fan of doing something. And if something doesn't work, we learn from that something and we do something else. I travel all over the world and I speak and they say, what's the answer? What's the answer? If I had the answer, I would bottle it up, I'd sell it, I'd be a billionaire a billion times over. There is no answer. Right now, we're at the stage of the game where it's harm reduction and trial and error.
Right. I wrote down a date here. Of May of 2015. And I wrote down empty house, empty men. That's what I wrote down. I got that video. Tell us about that, what the significance is of that day.
So now I just had stole my own books for my own book release signing in Barnes & Noble in New York. I take them back to Baltimore to go sell, to buy more heroin. And I'm done doing that. And I get on a train and I go back to my now second ex-fiance's and my home. And all of a sudden I put my key in the lock and the lock doesn't work, man. So I do the next best thinking and I kick the door in because now, see, I'm living on that the abnormal has now become the normal. I'm living on this animalistic level. And I kick the door in and the home is completely empty. She had taken the furniture, our paintings, my cats, her clothes, my clothes, you name it, it's gone. And all of a sudden, I ended up in this fetal position yet again that I'm very familiar with. And I'm crying. I'm laying on the floor, crying uncontrollably. And all I could think of is this house is now a spitting image of me. I'm laying on the floor of this big empty shell of a house, and it's holding this big empty shell of a man as I cry uncontrollably. And all I can do is think back to that older gentleman from that very first treatment center at 17 that told me, white boy, do yourself a favor and don't turn 18 in a place like this. Now I'm 35 in a place like that yet again. Due to my very best thinking, I have done this yet again. If I would have listened to him with an open mind and an open heart, I probably wouldn't be in this position. But no, I went in there with a closed mind and a closed heart comparing out. And now, yet again, I'm here.
Okay.
So,
did you finally get into treatment at that point? Did somebody help you get into treatment?
Yeah, so now my phone goes off, and it's my mother who lives in Baltimore. And you're an attorney. You might remember this. When the police killed that young black man, Freddie Gray, in Baltimore City. Um, the Baltimore City turned into the movie The Purge, right? They were robbing, they were looting, they were shooting, they were stealing, they were burning blocks down, they were burning police cars down. The National Guard came into town. They were on every other corner with machine guns and tanks, and there was a 9 o'clock curfew. No one was to be on the streets. And my mother called me terrified. She lives about 12 blocks from where that incident occurred. She said, Brandon, I'm terrified. Can you come make sure I'm safe? And my intentions were to do anything that woman needs of me. I love that woman more than anything in this world. She has never said no to me. She's always showed up for me continuously, time after time. My intentions were to go take care of that woman. let me show you what my actions look like, right? Because my disease doesn't understand intentions versus actions. It tells me what I'm going to do, and I have to listen. It's not personal, it's business. My intentions were to get on a train, get back to Baltimore, and make sure she was safe and sound. God, I wanted to do that. My actions look like this. I jump on a train. I get back to Baltimore. I go to her house. I go up in her bedroom. I completely take her bedroom over. She now resides sleeping on the couch in the living room because she's in fear that I'm going to burn her house down. And her next best thought is if I burn her house down, if she's sleeping on the couch in the living room, she can surely make it out alive. Right? Because now I'm only leaving this bedroom once a day to go buy $180 worth of heroin and cocaine. Every morning at 4:30 a.m. religiously, my eyes would open. Not at 4:29, not at 4:31. I did not have a clock. I did not have an alarm clock. My disease said, get up. And I had no choice but to listen, right? I'm very subservient to that thing. And I get up at 4:30 religiously, and I would sneak down the stairs. And I knew exactly what step to step on because God forbid I stepped on the wrong step and it made a noise. And she woke up and said, Brandon, can you make me something to eat? I fucking can. Not right now. This is not personal. It's business. And I would get to the bottom of the stairs, and I would get on all four, and I would army crawl very gently and slowly over to her bed, a.k.a. the couch. And one hand would grab the purse, and the other hand would grab the bell that was attached to the purse, and I would gently slide it down to me because God forbid that bell made a noise and she woke up and said, Brandon, what are you doing in my purse? Don't ask. And I would take $180 out, and I would leave that house every day, and I would go buy the $180, and I would get back to that house. And see, prior to this, it was okay because each time I would put a shot of heroin in me, that delusional effect was produced, which would allow me to escape the reality that I created for myself. But what do I do now? I'm a 35-year-old man. First skateboard ever to be endorsed by Gatorade, hanging out with Michael Jordan, touring the world with Tony Hawk, designed my pro model for Pal Peralta, been in movies that break box office records, millionaire 3 times over. New York Times seller of a book on addiction, mother nuclear physicist, brother attorney in the White House, father died as a direct result of the position that I now find myself in. And what do I do when I'm a 35-year-old man? I have given everything up for that $10 substance, and that delusional effect is no longer produced every time I shoot up, meaning that I can no longer escape the reality that I have created for myself. That moment of clarity is never ending. Whether I'm high or sober, it literally has stopped working. What do I do? In theory and on paper, very successful individual. I did things and like the people equate to success or happiness, some even dream of doing. On the flip side of that coin, because I walked in that first treatment center at 17 with a closed mind and a closed heart, comparing out overreaction at best, bad time, bad way on a bad day. Where I find myself is a 35-year-old man held up in my mother's bedroom. I leave that house once a day. My worldly possessions consist of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, 1 stick of deodorant, fits into a bag, doubles as a pillow, 4 cigarette butts that I just picked up out of the ground. I've been in 12 inpatient treatment centers. I just woke up from being on life support for 7 days. My mother's bought me a plot. People have taken life insurance policies out on me. I'm just woken up from life support. My mother has exhausted all opportunities, options, and resources. She has depleted several savings accounts. She has sold 3 homes to financially pay for me to go to 2 treatment centers. She has nothing left to give, and she goes to church one day across the street from her house. And Father Mike sees her in the pews crying. And Father Mike says, Miss Pat, what's wrong? Miss Pat, my mother, says, Father Mike, it's Brandon. He's never been worse. There's nothing left I can physically or humanly do to help my son. So I've went to God with one prayer. And Father Mike said, oh, yeah, Miss Pat, what's that prayer? Miss Pat, my mother, says, Father Mike, it's simple. The prayer consists of God, please cure him, kill him, or kill me. And Father Mike, for the first time in his life, looked at my mother and he hollered at her. He said, how dare you go to God with a plan like that about your son? God has a plan for your son. You don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And Brandon doesn't know what it is. And looking back on it now, thank God I didn't know what that plan was, because I would have fucked it up. I would have made a left when I should have made a right.
So when did you finally get into treatment and get clean?
So now,
Clean for a number of years now.
I go out one day to go buy what I'm buying. I'm getting back to my mother's house, and I go to put my key in the lock, and a common theme of my story, lock stopped working. The key doesn't work. My brother had came in from D.C. because my mother refused to walk up those stairs. She was absolutely and utterly terrified. She had no idea what she would be confronted with up those stairs. My brother made her walk up those stairs into that bedroom, and that bedroom was like a murder scene. There was blood on the ceilings, blood on the walls, needles, cookers, bags, you name it, it was there. So all of a sudden, I knock on the door. See, I love my mother, so I won't kick her door in, right? But I'll make her sleep on the couch as I steal $180 every day and make her fear for her life. But I won't kick her door in because I love her. The abnormal became the normal, living on that animalistic level. So when I knock on the door, her and my brother come to the door, and my mother looks at me. And she said, Brandon, I will no longer love you to death. You can no longer stay here. How am I here? Now, with that, a police officer comes around the corner and serves me with a restraining order. My worldly possessions, after all those accolades that I had achieved, consist of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, 1 stick of deodorant, fits into a bag, doubles as a pillow, 4 cigarette butts, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order. How did I get here? I got here because I had a closed mind and a closed heart, and I held that position of knowing everything. So a whole bunch of more incidents occur, and we just don't have the time to get into it. But what happens is I end up calling I go to the airport, and I try to get on a flight. And I get up to the airport, the counter, and 2 things I've learned is I'll never want to argue with a judge or TSA airport security agent. What they say goes. And I get up there, and the woman takes one look at me, and she says, Mr. Novak, are you under the influence of anything? I say, no. She says, I believe you are. You will not fly for 72 hours. I was about to board a flight to Fort Lauderdale. This woman had promised me a lot of drugs and alcohol. And I didn't want to get on that flight, but I didn't know how to not get on it. God, my heart was beating 1,000,000 miles an hour like I had just shot 10 kilos of cocaine. I knew it was going to end real bad, but I could not get on it because my disease said, get on that plane. What happened is God dressed up in the form of a TSA airport security agent and did for me what I could not do for myself. So I get out of line, and I call my sponsor, and I said, Lex, I'm in a real bad way. I want to kill myself. Now I'm the kind of alcoholic that wants to kill himself on a daily basis, but I don't want to hurt myself in the process. I'm horrible at suicide because I keep waking up, and I'm at a point in life where I'm so low the curb's like a skyscraper. And he said, you're going to get on a train. You're going to come back to Philadelphia. We're going to pick you up. Right? And we're going to let you stay at our house. This is Memorial Day 2015. They pick me up. They leave their cookouts. They leave their kids. They leave their families. They come pick a guy up that was deemed unhelpable or unfixable. And they let me stay there. They take me to see my parole officer the next morning. My parole officer grants me mercy, and she sends me to the same treatment center that I had been to 4 previous times out of my 13 inpatient treatment center stays. And the 4 previous times, I would get in the same chair with the same intake coordinator, and she would tell me this, Mr. Novak, your insurance covers 90 days. And I'd say, in theory, 90 days sounds great, but in reality, I'm more of like a 45-day kind of fella. I have this woman to see, this job to fulfill, this state to go to, and she'd laugh at me each and every time and say, sweetheart,
you were negotiating with her.
Say again?
You were already negotiating with her about how quick you could get out of the place.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know some stuff, right? And she'd say, sweetheart, you have no idea. Anything and everything that you put in front of your recovery does not or will not matter because you will lose it. And I said, well, I guess you haven't seen my resume. I'm a pretty successful individual. But see what happened going into the 5th time to the same particular treatment center, ignorance was no longer bliss. I knew what she had told me the 4 previous times, which meant I'm to be held accountable for my actions. And this time, I walk in there, and I've been demoralized in just such a fashion from drugs and alcohol. I've been beaten into a state of reasonableness that I sit in the same chair with the same intake coordinator. And when she proposes to me the same idea of staying 90 days, she gives me that offer. I can't even come back with a counter offer because if I say no, it entails an explanation. I've literally been beaten speechless by my disease of addiction. And thank God. Because every time I would walk into any previous treatment center, I would walk in there with all these expectations. And what I know now that I did not understand then is expectations are nothing but unfulfilled resentments. So the moment you don't do as I think you should do, say as I think you should say, or feel as I think you should feel, I'm immediately fucking furious. And this time, for the first time in my life, I walked in with lack of any plans. And that lack of plan has produced the best of plans. So they admit me into that 90-day treatment center stay. I stay in that treatment center for 90 days. What I learned in that treatment center is that my mentality will create the reality for which I live in. And if I change my perception, I can change my world. And I bought into the concept that my defects could become my biggest assets with the slightest shift of perception.
So did you ultimately get clean that time?
Yeah, I stayed in that treatment center for 90 days. From that treatment center, I went to a sober living house for 1 year. I had been on parole and probation for 16 years old to 35, never a free day in between. A year into my process of sobriety, I had signed my release papers. I am literally a free man. I can go anywhere with anybody, anytime I like. I decided I wanted to get my 2-year medallion abroad. I flew out to Paris and got my 2-year medallion. I no longer live in that self-induced prison that consists of a 4-block radius that cost me $10 to get out of. My mother, the same mother that bought my plot, the same mother that took a restraining order out on me, the same mother that went to God and said, cure him, or kill me, I can't take it anymore, called me 9 months into my journey of sobriety and said, Brandon, I hate when you come to visit. I said, why? She said, because I get so sad when you leave. That very same mother, I'm flying down to Fort Lauderdale next month to see Rod Stewart and Cyndi Lauper. That very same mother I took on a cruise to the Bahamas. That book that I told you about, I had a 3-book deal. When I stole my first book from my book signing, they ripped that contract up on site. 9 months ago, I had my 2nd book come out. I have 3 more books to follow. I'm going to show you something right here. I have the first ever. I have the first ever addiction graphic novel coming out. I have a documentary going to the Sundance and the Cannes Film Festival. Sobriety has given me everything that drugs and alcohol promised me. What I've learned is that my past does not have to dictate my future. As long as you're breathing, it's never too late. The disease of addiction is not a death sentence. Most importantly, I just celebrated May 25th, 2018, 3 years of continuous sobriety without the use of a drink or a drug. I just came from my house. I just bought my first ever house. I'm now a productive member of society. I'm a tax-paying member of society. My defects have become my biggest assets. Drugs and alcohol were my answer to everything for 24 years. They became my problem to everything. And now they're my answer to everything again. I now work in the drug and alcohol treatment field for banks.
Let's talk about that, because I mean, you know, one of the reasons this Facebook Live show. Oh, I think we got the cat, but we lost you.
Yeah, I had to grab my tea. This is my cat. I found my cat in my sober living home, and I rescued him. That's the deal.
I love it. So I know that you're still trying to, you're inspiring people, you're helping people. Like you said, you're using your sobriety as an asset. So tell us what you're doing today, where you're working, and if somebody wants to reach out to you or the treatment center you work at, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I work for Banyan Treatment Center. We have facilities in Boston, Chicago, Pennsylvania, and Florida, as you know. And what I mean by my defects have become my biggest assets. I have 2 phones, and one of them rings nonstop, and it's for people that want help. And 99% of the times, this is how the conversation goes. Novak, if you can get clean, there's no reason why I can't. Can you help me? Because there's some substance to my story. It's tangible. You can look it up online. You can read the books. You can see it in the tabloids. You can watch it in the movies. I was that guy that was deemed unhelpable or unfixable. And now people are seeing this rebirth, if you will, on the same avenues.
It's a movie waiting to happen. When are they doing it?
What's that?
It's a movie waiting to happen. When are they doing it?
Yeah, somebody bought the rights to it. It's optioned off. I don't know. I stay out of that. If it happens, great. But what happens is every time my phone rings, there's a kid that says, if you can do it, there's no reason why I can't. Can you help me? Because I told you, addicts, alcoholics, we don't like authority. We don't like to conform. Everyone knows they need to go to treatment, but no one really wants to go. But they say, if that guy can get clean, there's no reason why I can't. A little bit different than a 50-year-old professor reading a textbook, giving a bunch of theories or hypotheses of what may or may not happen.
Brandon, you're real. I know we're close to running out of time. So is there any contact information if people either want to get hold of you or Banyan, or they want to come down to treatment and get clean at Banyan? How does that work?
You can personally call me on my personal cell phone number, and that phone number is 610-635-9092. Call me. What I know is that together we can do this. By myself, I will get high and I will die. If I could have did it on my own, I would have did it years ago, and I would not be here talking to you right now.
Okay, is there a phone number for Banyan, or I can take a quick look and see if I can find it online if you don't know what it is? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, just I don't know what it is, but you can just get my number, because if I don't answer, my phone goes through to Banyan.
Well, I'm going to give it out for you, okay? Because I just looked it up online, but it's Banyan, Banyan, treatmentcenter.com. That's Banyan, treatmentcenter.com, and they have a phone number here. Let me give it out. 954.
Actually, just give him my phone number.
Okay.
The Banyan phone number which is my phone number, which is 610-635-9092.
Okay. And if anybody needs to get a hold of Brandon, or they want to get a hold of me, they can certainly reach out to us. Let me give out my information. So the phone number here at Drug and Alcohol Attorneys is 561-419-6095. Our website is drugandalcoholattorneys.com, or you can email us, Mark with a K, M-A-R-K, at drugandalcoholattorneys.com. Brandon, this is I almost want to say this is the craziest story, but every time I meet somebody who's in recovery, who's had a very unique life like you, it's hard to, I spoke to Vance Johnson last week, and I got a chance to meet him and hear his story, and then to meet him, it's almost like you can't believe it. And I read about you. I looked at your YouTube video before I interviewed you. I know a little bit about you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. And my good friend Megan, hello Megan.
Yeah, she's the best. Love her to death.
She says you're an unbelievable guy, and I believe her. And so as someone who's not been in recovery but works with people in recovery, it's so hard for me to almost comprehend how you go from this, this crazy lifestyle to this. And I'm glad that you did, because we got you here to talk to us and share your story. But it's a crazy story, and I'm humbled, and I'm really flattered and honored that you came on and took an hour and 7 minutes to share it with us.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate this.
When you're coming down, I want you to. We're gonna get together. I'm gonna tell Megan we got to get together.
I'd love that. I fly in on the 9th, I believe.
All right, I'm gonna make it with Megan.
The 9th through the 12th, I'm in town.
Okay, my brother, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you very, very much. And hold on a second. We're gonna jump out of Facebook, but thanks again for joining us. Okay, hold on a second.
Godspeed, my friend. Godspeed.
All right, we're clear of Facebook. Thank
you.
That was, dude, you're unbelievable. And they're going to make a movie about you. There's no question, because you've got a story not to share with people, because you're clearly an inspirational guy. And like you said, your recovery is your greatest asset. And I'm sure that you're going to inspire a lot of people, which is why I do this show every week, because I know it makes a difference in people. And I get calls all the time saying, dude, that guy was unbelievable. How do I get a hold of him? Or can I see the video, because I want to share it with my kid? Because if they see a guy like you who can, you can get into recovery, it gives hope to people. Because, I get crying. I get mothers who call me crying. They don't know what to do. They're desperate to save their kids. They're just desperate. And, I had a mother that called me was it 2 days ago, crying. And when you told the story about your own mom, it just reminded me. I had a flashback of that call. So,
and that's what I said at the beginning of this interview. Anything to shine a light at the end of this dark, drab tunnel that seems very overwhelming or unwinning, if you will.
I'm looking forward to meeting you. I really am.
Man. God bless. Thank you. Let's have Megan set that up.
I'm going to talk to her.
Please do.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.